Now this time it's a review for Elmedia Player, a media player that comes in both a free and a pro version for macOS 10. It's made by the same people as some other software I've reviewed before, such as Fox Pro and Airy. So let's just take a look at the interface first. Here you have a standard type of interface that you'd expect from a media player similar to QuickTime Player, or at least QuickTime X or 10 Player. And you have your standard bar here. Now this button here I'll go into a bit later on. This button here brings up a playlist, and you can put various music and video files in a list, and it will play one after the other instead of having to manually open each one, just like playlists on most programs really. Any downloads, I'll go back to that. Rewind, fast forward, play, pause, volume, progress bar, your full screen, minimize and close buttons as you'd expect from most programs. Let's have a look at the menus. Okay, you can see that it is the latest version at the time I'm making this, which is Pro version 6.1. As I mentioned, there is a non-Pro free version as well. And I'll go into what the difference is a little bit later. You can change your license type, such as from a personal license to a family pack, upgrade, recover lost license key, look at the Pro version features, check for updates, and integrate into browser, block any pop-up windows, preferences. Let's look at preferences. Okay, pretty standard. When you download something, do you want to put it into the downloads folder or not? You know, do you want to put it maybe in its own folder? Do you want to put it in the video folder? Whatever. You can then autoplay files added to playlists. You can add downloaded files to playlists automatically. You can automatically add files to playlist upon opening. Various playback options here, such as disable screensaver while you're in full screen mode. Optional, you can send anonymous usage statistics to the company, and there's quite a lot of people that don't like that sort of thing, so you can just untick it here and not do that. I have no problem with doing that, so I tend to leave it ticked, and it is ticked by default. But if you don't like that, you can turn it off here. There's also automatically check for updates when you have the program open or not, and if you have it unticked, if you want to check for an update, you'll have to do it manually here. Flash files or SWF files, when you download those sort of files, do you want it to be high, medium, or low quality? Do you want to enable flash local security? Do you want to allow send receive data over network? Some options here for playlists. Some options for capturing, such as taking a screenshot. In the Pro version, you can take screenshots of your desktop or whatever. You can then select where to put it here. You can have it as a TIFF, which I believe is the default, a GIF, or a PNG. I tend to use PNGs or JPEGs. There's no JPEG option here for whatever reason, so I'll use PNG. Screenshot intervals and capture options here. And under video, we can enable force index rebuilding when you open normally AVIs. Deinterlace method, we have FFmpeg, LPF5, and blend, or you can have none. I actually am not really expert on this sort of thing. I don't really know the difference, so I just tend to have it on FFmpeg. That may not be the best one, or in some cases may be better off having it on none, but it's a bit beyond this review. We have image enhancement. You can have none again, normal, fast, or advanced, so I just tend to have it on normal. Performance, we can use a cache of local files. We can use hardware acceleration, and I like to use hardware acceleration. Not all media players have that, especially if they're free, although some others do. So it's nice to have that option, especially when, like I say, if you normally use a free program, they won't necessarily have that. So it's good to have. And I recommend, if it's not ticked by default for whatever reason, you do turn that on. I've certainly had no problems with it in this program or any other. Action upon double clicking. So if you double click the window, even if there's a video player, do you want it to enter and exit full screen? Do you want it to pause and play the video? Which is, I think, probably how most media players work. If you click on the screen, it will pause it, or no action at all. I like to have it on enter and exit, which is default, because I'll show you later, but basically when you're in full screen, in most programs on Mac. If it's using the native OS X full screen, when you hover up here, the menu bar will come down with the close and minimize grayed out, and then the full screen button, and then a lot of people click that. This doesn't do that. So you either have to hit escape on your keyboard or double click. And if you have this turned to play, pause, or none, the only way you get out of full screen is by hitting escape on your keyboard. So it's handy, at least at the moment, the way this program works with its full screen mode, it's handy to have it on enter and exit. Full screen monitor, don't change, or screen one. I've only got one screen. If you had multiple screens, you could select them from here. And interface, do you want a resize interface to the original video size and show the OSD and what color? We then have a tab for audio. We can select audio device here, such as built-in output, or if we have something like a pair of headphones plugged in, we could select it from here. And number of playback channels, do we want it stereo, or if we have a surround system rigged up, do we want 5.1 or 7.1, etc. Automatically load external tracks. So if it's external audio files with the video file and it's not built into the video file for whatever reason, we have some options to deal with that there. Preferred audio language, pass-through for hardware decoders. This is something you probably won't normally need, but if you do, you have options for AC3 there or DTS. Virtual surround emulation. Do you want to enable it for 5 to 6 channel audio or just for stereo? So if you're wearing a pair of headphones, you might want to enable it for stereo, and that might fake surround sound on a regular pair of stereo headphones. But I would probably not use that if you're using your built-in speakers. I'd use it if you're using a pair of headphones or earphones. We then have some options for subtitles. If you use subtitles or occasionally, we can auto load the subtitles here, and we can say all subs containing movie name or same name as movie, or all subs in directory. We can select the preferred language of subtitles here, which is separate for the audio and the subtitles. Select first available subtitle. Encoding, normally you'd have UTF-8, but there's other encoding options there. You can select a font from here, change the font size, color and border color, or turn off a border. You might actually prefer to have that on. It might make it a bit more visible. Apply these settings for ASS files and changes that require restart of playback. So let's close that. Next, we have a pretty standard file menu here. Do you want to open a file? Do you want to open a video TS file, which is from a DVD? Or do you want to open up online video? And you put in the URL here, and it does support things like not just YouTube, but also Vimeo or Dailymotion, and you can add it to a playlist or not with the checkbox. We then have Open Recent, which you get in most programs. We can save and load a playlist from there. We can clear the playlist. We can close the window. Regular edit menu here. View. If I had a video open, which I don't at the moment, we'd have various sizing options for the window. We'd have aspect ratio. Do you want to, if it's 4:3, do you want to try to stretch it to say 16:9 or whatever? Do you want to mirror, flip it? Do you want to rotate it? Fit the window. Do you want to enter full screen? There we go. Now, while I'm here, let me just point out what I meant about full screen. See, when you hover up here, this is what you get. Now, in other programs, you'd have your close button grayed out here when you hover, and a full screen button. There's no button. So if you're used to doing it that way, you can't. You have to hit exit on your keyboard, or if you have it set in preferences, double click the window, though it won't do it because the video isn't loaded. But if a video was loaded, you could double click on the window to enter and exit full screen as well. I would prefer it if it had a native OS X full screen mode. It would be certainly handier for people who are used to clicking this when they're in full screen to exit full screen. We then have float on top. We then have show playlist in a separate window, auto hide controls or not, show controls or not. Then we have movie, play, stop, loop, next, previous, repeat, shuffle, volume up and down and mute, and various other options. And if we had a video loaded here, we could also take a screenshot or even record a series of screenshots, which is an interesting option because a lot of programs, including free programs, media players, do have a take screenshot option, which allows you to take a still screenshot. But most that I've seen, I don't think normally have a record series of screenshots, so that could be handy. Then we have window, and we can look at the equalizer. We can turn it on if we want. We can set it manually and adjust our controls. We can create a preset, edit the list. We can select from a preset here. And if you've used things like iTunes, the equalizer in that, it should be fairly straightforward. We then have video tuner, so we can adjust brightness, contrast, saturation, gamma, hue, noise reduction, and sharpness of the image. We then have media info, which has nothing at the moment because I haven't got a video loaded. Okay, I now have a video loaded. You can see its progress bar and that up here. It's an AVI, so if we go to window, media info, we can see that the file size is 245.1 megabytes. Its duration is about 27 minutes. Its video only has one track, which is an MP4V. It's a DivX, and you can see its bit rate there and resolution and frames per second. We see how many streams are in the audio, how many audio streams are there, and as you can see, this only has one, which is an MPEG 3 using FFmpeg float. Its bit rate there, and how many channels it's got, which is 2 channels. It's stereo, it's not surround, and it's not mono. Then we can see the source, so where is it? It's in my downloads folder. I'll put it in there. It's an AVI, and that's about it. And that's about it for this, except we can have a look at a browser. Now, we can also get to that from down here. Why do you want a browser? It's not absolutely vital, but it could be handy just to have it there all in one program. And there are other ways of doing this, but it's also handy because it's not just for looking at YouTube videos, but that is the example I'll use. We can go to YouTube, but it's not just to view it, because we can always easily enough view YouTube in a browser. But let me just explain once I can actually show you. Okay, let's just click on a random video here. Okay, there's a Game of Thrones. It's a teaser, so I'll try not to play too much and give it away. Let's pause. We could, of course, watch it in this program like we could in a browser, but what do you notice down the bottom? We have video, audio, flash, or downloads. So if we look at the video, that's what it's on at the moment. And as you can see, we have here, it's a YouTube video, and it has one here that is an MP4 720p. We can then select it if it had it, which I guess it doesn't, 1080p. We could select 480p, which is a roughly DVD quality, and there's lesser resolutions here. Or there's a FLV, which is a flash video, 240p. There is a 3GP, which I believe is normally used for streaming on mobile phones. Then there's a WebM 360p, which is a HTML5 video format. So you want one of these probably, or 1080p if it was there, which isn't in this case. Select that and hit download, and we can actually download it from within Elmedia Player. So we don't have to use third-party programs, at least not if you have the pro version of this player. You don't have to go use another plugin or another program or buy another program and to download from YouTube. We can download internet videos using this browser built into the media player, which is very handy. And if we know we only want audio, not video, we can change the tab here to audio. And as you can see, we can then select, do we want to download it in its MP3 version, M4A, or WebM? So you probably select this or that one, then hit download. So we can download just the audio of a video. We don't have to download the video and the audio. We can just rip the audio, which is quite handy. And then there'd be Flash if Flash was available on the site you're browsing. Then you can look at downloads, so a list of ones you downloaded. I haven't downloaded any yet. Or we can view everything that is on the page, including the XML and the HTML and the CSS here, and download that. So it's actually a very handy feature to have. Okay, then we have a help menu. Not a lot here, you just get to its website or its help. Very standard help menu. Now let's just take a look at the website to have a look at some of the feature lists there, see if I've missed mention anything, then I'll tell you what I think of it and if I have any suggestions. Okay, here's their website. They do have other Mac programs and Windows programs. I have reviewed their Mac download manager called Fox Pro, and I have also reviewed their Airy program, which is a program just for downloading YouTube videos, which isn't really necessary if you have the Pro version of this, because as I showed you, you can download not just YouTube, but Vimeo and all sorts, whereas Airy does only support downloading from YouTube, and that is it. Okay, so let's have a look. Here's their website. You can have a good look for yourself. A link will be in the description. Watch YouTube videos online. Playback any video. It does. I haven't mentioned this, but I think it's worth mentioning. A very popular codec format was H.264. It's now starting to be replaced by its newer version, the H.265, also known as HEVC, High Efficiency Video Codec. More and more videos are starting to go to HEVC or H.265, and still there are some video converters, things like that out there which doesn't support the new codec yet, but it's becoming more and more necessary as more and more videos are starting to be encoded with this new codec. Well, Elmedia Player does support that already. It does work. So if you download a video that is H.265 or HEVC, whichever the site you get it from is labeling it, it is playable in this media player. So when they say playback any video, they pretty much mean it. Listen to music. You can listen to music files such as MP3, AAC, and various other ones. SWF exclusive. You can choose to watch videos in full screen mode, hide control panel, deactivate screensaver during playback, and pin video on top of other running applications. Nothing will distract you from watching or your gaming experience. This video player for Mac boasts settings exclusive to SWF. You can choose quality of the playback and activate flash, local security, which I showed you earlier, as well as exchanging data over a network. You can adjust various playback settings, save and manage your subtitles, make screenshots from videos, and convert flash projectors to SWF. That is only in the Pro version. And make screenshots from your videos. Now, some free media players do support taking screenshots from videos. So you might ask, well, why would you need to pay for a Pro one? Well, of course, this isn't the only feature you're getting in the Pro one, but also most that I've seen may have screenshot taking abilities, but this not only will take a screenshot, it will also take a series of screenshots, which could be very handy depending upon what you're doing. It has enhanced playback features. Let you read this for yourself. I won't read it all. There's playlist editing. There's flexible audio settings, in which some of the features are only available in Pro. Output, which is also a Pro feature. Choose output device for both the video and the audio. And if you have DVDs, which are usually encoded in AC3 Dolby Digital or DTS Digital Theater System, Elmedia Player can be configured to relay the audio data without decoding it. Then there's web browser, which I've mentioned. It's very handy. Lets you download not just videos from things like Vimeo and YouTube. It'll sort of detect flash videos and all sorts. And downloading with that is a Pro feature. And like I mentioned when I showed you, you can extract audio, not just the whole video. If all you want is the audio, you can download just that. And download SWF resources. SWF files at times require external resources for correct playback. Usually these are flash files or other media. Elmedia Player detects them and gives you an option to download them or not. Pro feature benefits, we can see a list here. So saving videos, that is a pro feature. Download videos and soundtracks from YouTube, pro feature. Just playback settings, pro feature. Grab a still from a video, or like I noted, make a series of images, that is a pro feature. Convert a projector exe file to a SWF format, pro feature. And you can look at the whole list yourself. Then we have here, download it free, and they tell you what the latest version is. And today it's the 4th of December, and the latest version, 6.1, came out on the 20th of November, so it's very recently updated. And you can download it free here, or buy it for $19.95. If you own a license from a previous version, you get 50% off. So what do I think? Well, if you want to really find a good video player, even if it means paying for it, and then stick to it for a long, long time, like I tend to try to find a video player that I like for both its interface features and codec support, and try to sort of stick with it. I was previously using another one, which I won't mention because this review isn't about it. I've been using it for a long time. But you might not want to pay for Media Player when there's so many free ones, but then it depends what you want it for, because this has so many sort of pro features, like downloading almost any sort of video file from the internet via its browser, or taking a series of screenshots. And if you really need those type of features, it might be worth considering getting the pro version of this. But luckily there is a free version, so you can, if you're not sure if it's going to be good enough, or if you're sure you're going to like the interface and its way of doing things, etc., you can download the free version, use that for a while, then make up your mind, which I recommend is what you do. It's free, so just download it and give it a shot. It won't hurt, you won't have to pay anything, just download it, and even if you know, pretty sure you're not going to use it in the future, just give it a shot anyway, you can always uninstall. And what about suggestions? Well, I've only noticed 2 so far, and that is, 1, it doesn't seem to use Mac OS X's native full screen abilities, because when you go full screen, go up here, there's no unfull screen button like there is in things like QuickTime Player. I'd like to see native full screen support, including the buttons up here as normal, because you either have to double click and exit that way, or if you have changed it up here, that sort of support, so it plays and pauses instead when you double click, you won't be able to do that. So the only way to exit would be to hit escape on your keyboard. So since I have it set this way, it's not a huge deal. I just tend to double click on the trackpad quickly, but a lot of people, I'm sure, are used to using these buttons, so that would be good. Also, I've noticed there is no easy way to associate file formats with the player. Now, some other players either have it under preferences, or there's an option under one of these things like window or whatever, view, edit, somewhere that says file association. You go to that, then you have a list of various file formats such as AVI, MP4, and you can tick to associate those types of videos, any file on your computer with those extensions, with this media player, so that when you double click on it, it'll then open up without having, well, you're having to open the player first, or right click and open with, or whatever. There's no easy way to do it with this. The only way would be to find a file. I haven't got one here easy, but you would then go to get info on the AVI. There would be a drop down here where you select what media player or what software you want to use. You could then select Elmedia Player, then hit change all. Then you hit that and hit OK. Then what happens then is that any AVIs, if you did it on an AVI file, for example, any AVIs from then on will be associated with the player, but then that won't apply to MP4s and MKVs, so you'd have to do it for each different file type you want to associate with this player. So you'd have to keep doing it as you came across file types you wanted to associate with Elmedia Player, so it's a bit of a nuisance. I would prefer to see some kind of option to associate all formats with the player, or that you tick in a list, like a lot of players do it. So the 2 suggestions are native full screen support with full screen button to get out of full screen, and a way to associate file formats with the player. But to sum up, my recommendation is I like it, and I like its codec support, I like its interface, I like its features. I would just recommend, as always, you download the free version first, give it a try, and see what you think and make up your own mind, but I like it. So thanks for watching. Please like and comment on this video, and if you could do me a huge favour and subscribe, as it only takes a few seconds and will help me out a lot. Thanks.